All right, let's talk about how to season your brand new Blackstone Griddle. I'm going to be showing how to do this on the new Iron Forge Omnivore griddle top, but this process works for any of Blackstone's griddles. So let's get started. So to start with, we're just going to turn this thing straight on to high heat. I know some people suggest using soap and water and a griddle stone and scrubbing this thing down really good beforehand. That's not necessary. You can do that to get the manufacturing oil off of the top of it, but that manufacturing oil will also just burn right off. So I'm just going to turn it on to high heat and just let that burn and get really hot for a little bit. You'll see some light smoke coming off of it. That's what you want to see. That's that oil burning off. You'll also notice that the surface starts to get a little bit black, and that's also what you want to see. I'm going to be using Blackstone's griddle seasoning that they provide here. You don't need to use the Blackstone griddle seasoning. You can just use any old oil that you have available to you. I do not recommend using any kind of animal fat like bacon or bacon up or anything like that. Animal fat can actually mold and actually ruin the seasoning. So for this initial seasoning, at least at first, I recommend using just a regular old oil or the griddle seasoning. So we're just going to put a light layer of this. You don't need a lot of it. One of the biggest mistakes people make when seasoning their griddle is they put too much oil on at first and the seasoning layer ends up too thick and brittle. So you just need a couple tablespoons of oil is all, just enough to spread a light thin layer across the whole griddle. You're going to spread that all over the entire griddle surface, including the back and the sides. Don't forget to get the outside of the griddle and everything. I'm using tongs and a paper towel to spread everything here. I use tongs just to keep my hands away from the heat, risk burning myself on that oil as it spreads around. So you're just going to make sure you get every surface that's visible on this griddle top. You're just going to spread that light oil around. You'll see this white smoke coming off almost right away. You're going to let that white smoke go until it dissipates completely. So you'll see the white smoke completely disappear, and then you can do your next layer. That's a good sign that your oil has cooked on or that your seasoning has cooked on. And you're just going to do this probably about 4 or 5 times. Okay, so I put on a layer, I wait about 15 minutes. It takes about 10 to 15 minutes for that smoke to disappear. Once you see that the smoke has disappeared, you go ahead and add your next layer on. Remember, just a couple tablespoons of oil at a time. You'll start to see that the surface gets black. You might also notice that the edges of the griddle don't get completely black. That's okay. There are things you can do to kind of help with this. If it bothers you, you could take a torch to it and hit those edges in the back of the griddle, or you can try closing the lid and that'll capture some of the heat as this thing is heating up, and that will help kind of turn that back area black. But the reality is it's going to season over time. And so as long as you keep adding your layers of oil on and you get most of that surface black, you're pretty much in good shape to cook on it after that. And what you'll notice is over time, as you continue to use the griddle, those surfaces that are not black right now will turn black eventually. Just make sure that you maintain seasoning every time you use the griddle and you'll be in good shape. So another trick I've seen people do that I do recommend doing is after you have done your 4 to 5 layers of seasoning and you're pretty happy with the way it looks, we're going to go ahead and cook an onion on this griddle. So I just took one whole sweet onion. It really doesn't matter what kind of onion you use, but I would recommend using a whole onion. We're just going to dump that whole onion onto this griddle, and I've cut it up into smaller pieces just so I could spread it around better. And we're going to just spread this around all over this griddle surface and let that cook. I've turned the heat down just a little because I don't want the onion to burn on there, but I want those juices from that onion to kind of come out and start to penetrate that griddle surface. What this does is it creates kind of like a sealant onto the griddle seasoning. Kind of fills in some of those gaps, it fills in some of the rough spots, and it kind of seals in that seasoning for you. So I do recommend doing this. This is something that a lot of people who do cast iron pans and stuff will do. They'll cook onions in it first thing. So we're going to go ahead and do that on our griddle surface. And I'm just going to spread that onion around. I'm going to actually move it all to one side, and I'm going to slowly move it across the griddle to make sure that those onion juices penetrate the entire surface of this griddle. Once you've done that, you can pull that onion off, save it, use it to cook something later, use it in something, don't throw it away. And then you're all set. Your griddle is successfully seasoned, you're ready to cook. You may notice that there's a little bit of sticking at the very beginning on your very first cook. That's okay. Just make sure you clean the surface well every time that you cook with it. Make sure you re-season with a light layer of oil each time after cooking. Don't forget to continue to re-season the back and the sides of that griddle, especially here at the beginning while you're waiting for them to turn black. And you'll be in good shape. It's nice and easy, doesn't take too long, doesn't have to be super complicated. I hope this helps. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.